Hello, my little disruptors. I think we're going to call this like the Dr. Leslie show, but nice nightly disruptors or intentionally disrupting. And let's just break down the shit that we are fed through the media and all the propaganda and call it for the bullshit it is. I think that's a really good idea. So we're going to keep it short tonight because I think tomorrow is going to be a lot of information and a lot of analysis. But what I want to cover is Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni, lots of stuff becoming public today. Definitely Trump and Epstein. I actually think that's kind of it because that has been all over the news. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the missing 9-year-old who was driven to a location and left by her mother. Let's talk about that first. So, Ashley Buzzard is a woman. She's 40 years old, lives in California, not far from me, appears to drive her 9-year-old daughter. She's a single mom because the father passed away when the daughter was 6 months old, and she was obsessed with him in not a healthy way. Anyway, so she drives the little girl maybe to Colorado, Utah. I don't know. She's going all over the country. She changes her license plates at some point to New York plates. She is wearing a wig. She eventually returns to California without her daughter. Fishy would be an understatement. She is not talking to police. She is not telling anyone, well, kind of, where her child is. So at some point, a guy comes over. He says he's a paralegal. His story keeps changing, but he's coming in to basically check on her. This is fishy to me too, because if she is seeing if this is a trafficking case and she is a vulnerable person and they are grooming her, my mind goes there. But also, maybe it's somebody who actually knows her and is trying to figure out where the fuck her daughter is. So he says he basically comes over and she says where she left her daughter, but then she won't let him go. She freaks out. She doesn't trust him because she sounds extremely paranoid. She's closing her eyes a lot, which I would imagine is because she's silencing the noise and listening to command hallucinations. I mean, this is a woman who needs significant help and hasn't gotten it. This is a woman who's been hospitalized several times. Her child's gone into foster care, and the system has returned her child to her several times. So, anyway, she gets paranoid about having this information out that she told this guy where her daughter was, and then she holds a box cutter to his neck, and he doesn't feel like he can leave. Well, he eventually leaves. I'm not sure of their size or capacity or if they've ever trained in any kind of martial arts, but he eventually leaves and he goes to the police and he tells them this, but he makes sure to say that he's not sure he was actually hearing the truth or that he knew the truth or she was telling the truth. So lots of doubt. But anyways, this leads her to get arrested because she held him hostage and held a box cutter to his knife, a box cutter to his neck. God, I'm tired today. But anyways, so they release her from jail today and she has a GPS ankle monitor on and like 7 cars following her. Like they are following her. They are on her. She is being surveilled. And she still goes to 2 places trying to get a rental car and she gets denied twice. Now she's not talking to anyone. She's getting Amazon packages like shipped to her house still, but she was denied the rental car because she has bad credit. We will see what happens with this case, but it is very, very fishy. And to me, it sounds like she has some serious mental health problems and was obsessed with keeping the child away from the father's family, the father who she was utterly obsessed with. And today I got to talk to the father who passed away 9 years ago and his ex-girlfriend at that time. And she gave me insight into how he was frequently saying that he is terrified of this woman, of Ashley Buzzard. And now we have Ashley Buzzard driving her daughter somewhere and her daughter not returning. It was a very instrumental act. It appeared professional. Imagine getting gas, making stops. She wore a wig. She had her daughter in a hoodie. It's all very suspect. But then at the same time, is it trafficking or is she just another Lori Vallow Daybell who cares? I do not care what that woman's name is. She is a waste of skin and should just be a scientific experiment at this point. Okay, so then we're on to Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni and all of the people involved in this. There are so many people, but basically, the lawsuits back and forth from Blake and Jed Wallace, the dark web guy who's buddy buddy with Elon Musk and buddy buddy with a bunch of high profile people who prefers to be completely anonymous and tends to go by his daughter's name, Avery. All these lawsuits were dismissed back and forth because of jurisdiction. I don't really care, but at the end of the day, I think that the fact that we have no proof is proof. There was a smear campaign against Blake Lively, but God, it really gives us insight into the massive smear campaigns into everyone in leadership, in politics, in any kind of influencer position, actresses. To run an untraceable smear campaign is diabolical, and we now have names and people who have done it and can really teach us through this website the bullshit that we are fed, the propaganda that people are fed, the mild emotional content that people want to align with because the nuances of untangling the reality and the truth and the details of all of this shit is too difficult, and we don't have the time or the energy. So let's just join a side and let's just raise our voice and let's just fuck it. It's better to be a part of one side than alone on the other. Let's just fucking ignore our critical thinking skills altogether because we can't manage our emotional state. And that's why I think there are so many Justin Baldoni fans and there are so many people that do not think before they speak, before they repost, before they endorse or comment or like on things about this case without actually thinking it through. Look at the case overall. There were a group of people hired for tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars to make sure that Justin Baldoni kept looking good when really his entire career has been focused on apologizing because he's looked so bad. So today, tomorrow, I think a lot is going to come out. People are going to need time to read it. There's going to be a significant amount of evidence, but basically Blake Lively and probably the other side too, Wayfair, I don't know. Everyone is going to at some point say, we don't want to go to trial. We don't want a jury trial. We just want to win. All I care about at this point is that the real evidence gets out there because what you have seen is probably 10% of what there really is. And if you're basing your viewpoint on 10%, and it's also a manipulated 10% that Brian Friedman has put forward on behalf of Justin Baldoni, then you have been manipulated and you are okay with it and you have fallen for propaganda and you probably like Candace Owens because she thrives on that shit. Okay, and so we woke up to basically the American government like functioning now. I don't know if they are. It takes some time. You got to sign things. You need Trump's epic signature on things. The signature that he had on that card that he wrote for Jeffrey Epstein, the exact same signature. Yeah, I don't care what Caroline Levitt says when she talks about Virginia Giuffre, but pronounced it Guffrey because she doesn't know who the fuck she is, because she doesn't care, because she's given talking points and she's lying through her teeth and she's a vapid kind of piece of shit, really. But at the end of the day, the Democrats decided to drop a bunch, like 20,000 pages or something, from the Oversight Committee about the Jeffrey Epstein estate. And in that, Trump's mentioned a lot. So they are definitely manipulating this material and the survivors' information and how Trump was involved. They are definitely manipulating it to their political gain. I don't like that because I think both sides in leadership are involved in this Epstein entanglement. And that's why we didn't see this in the last round of the president. It's interesting that it's coming out in this round. It kind of shows that he is probably in it more than any Democrat and isn't really winning when it comes to manipulating politics and presenting theater. So they dropped these emails today where he is clearly involved. And Epstein is going back and forth in emails with Ghislaine Maxwell, who, let's just remember, participated in all of this abuse, not just finding the girls, but she actually participated in sexual abuse. She was getting her rocks off with underage minor girls and Jeffrey Epstein and God knows who else, billionaires, politicians. Prince Andrew, let's just call him Andy now because he's been evicted and denounced. But she was a huge part of all of this. And let's just remember that she gives this weird interview. And I dissected the tapes. You can see it on my socials and on YouTube, on Tara Palmieri's YouTube page. She has all of it on there. But we dissected the page basically saying that Ghislaine Maxwell was lying over and over in that interview. And turns out today we were right because we found out today we were right. So in these emails, Epstein is going back and forth with Ghislaine Maxwell about basically how to blackmail Trump because he spent hours in Epstein's house with a victim who was identified as Virginia Giuffre. And there's a lot more to come because they signed in at Alita and she's going to vote. Well, she did vote. She signed to vote to release the rest of the Epstein information. Now, the part I don't like about this is that it is being used as political strategy. I don't like that. I don't care what your politics are. You don't get to harm kids. And now even the Democrats are using the harm of children to manipulate the political agenda. And that is not okay. And it would not be okay if the Republicans were doing it either. At the end of the day, anyone who speaks about Epstein, if they are in politics, they are doing it for their own personal gain. They are doing it for the gain of their party. And I don't like that. At the end of the day, I want a neutral person to come forward to be protected, which is just impossible because it has to be somebody within the House Oversight Committee. So it's going to be a Democrat or a Republican, but I want someone to come forward and just say the fucking names and give the survivors a little bit of justice and closure, but also just like Mr. Andy over there in England, all these people need to be dethroned. And if we can't get criminal charges, at least take their billionaire savings accounts and their companies and all of their followings and their children and their wives away from them and show the world who they really are. So I would love if you have differing views, tell me otherwise. But that's kind of how in Hollywood, California, how today has played out. I haven't seen anything else because I've had my own legal cases, which are all over the country and are exhausting. And I have to say, I let my daughter bleach the tips of her hair today for her birthday. Her birthday's coming up and she looks so cute and adorable. And it was such a special moment. She's so adorable. And it's so wonderful. Just love your fucking kids. And that's also why it makes me so livid that people take advantage of children. And I'll live the rest of my life trying to find all of you, stop all of you, and let you meet your maker, whatever that might be. So I wish you all a lovely sleep, and I will catch you tomorrow on what I think is going to be quite a dramatic day when it comes to celebrities, Lively and Epstein and Trump. Dun dun dun.